Right, so I'll start. I went to BSides Leeds in January of this year, and when I did that, I wasn't in security, I wasn't in IT. I'd been at home as a housewife for 7 years, 7 to 8, and I've been reading about the CCN, been reading the book, doing some study with that, but I thought security would be something that I might be interested in. I had followed people on Twitter from security accounts for years, but I never thought of it as something that I could do. And at the last minute, I managed to blag a ticket to the definitely sold out BSides Leeds by saying, "Hello, I'm a worthy cause, I've got childcare, if anybody's got a free ticket, let me know, I'd really like to go and see the keynote, please, if anybody has one, let me know." So I tagged in the keynote speaker with that because I did want to see her. She retweeted, thank you very much, and that, then I got very kindly a chat from Symantec said, "Oh, I've got a spare one, you have mine." So I was like, "Oh, thank you." And I came, I saw a whole selection of talks, and I was really excited. And so I went away and studied, and not long after that, I got my first job in security, doing exactly what I wanted to be doing. So this talk is really about how I came to be in security, from the point of view of somebody who's completely outside the sector, but hopefully there's something useful there for you if you're already in IT or if you're a student. This hopefully will have something in it as well for people who do recruitment. If you're thinking that your standard paths of recruitment aren't always furnishing you with a range of candidates that you'd like, hopefully we've got some ideas here about how to find other people. So, first thing we often hear is we can't get the people. Why not? Well, we know that basically there aren't enough to go around. The figures on this are something like, by 2022, just in Europe, there's meant to be a shortfall of security professionals of about 350,000 people. So it's huge. It's a new sector, but there aren't enough people to go around who are already qualified. If you're going to recruit people for entry-level positions, we're in a good position to look for people who aren't already in security, potentially who aren't even in IT. But the question then is, will they be any good? That's what you want to know. And will they be ready soon? Because a lot of pathways suggest, you can do this, come do our degree. And I thought, well, I could do, but I've got a degree, I've got a professional qualification, and I can't really... I'm not at that stage. I thought I can't go back to uni and do it all again. I just need to find a way in. So, what are the barriers to entry for people who are contemplating a career change? Now, these are my thoughts. So, time, the investment of time. Are you going to, I'm 37 now. I didn't really want to spend 3 years doing an undergraduate degree in a completely different area. Money. Also, I've got student debt already. You've got to think, how much is it going to cost you to get into the sector that you want? And the third point, security, in this case, is it is a safe bet. Well, the biggest thing I think that's a problem within security and recruitment is that nobody outside knows what we do. They don't know the roles, the job roles. They don't know how they fit together, how that builds into a career path. Even within the sector, we're all slightly mavericks finding our own way through it, Great, the job that I'm in now, I'm an analyst, I can go to be a senior analyst, and there's a path there for, or I could go in a different direction. But it's hard to tell from outside what it is, what it looks like. Even if you go on prospects.uk, careers service website, it doesn't really tell you very much about what the job entails, so it's hard to know what to apply for. It doesn't tell you very much about how the roles fit together and build into a career. If that's something we can get out, then we're in a much better place to help people understand that it's worth coming in. So my comment here is, why take people from outside IT? Now, this is a slide that's kind of focused at recruiters. I'm jumping backwards and forwards all the time between hopefully the kind of applicant side and the recruiter side. So why take people from outside IT? For the first point, you've got more people to choose from. Good start. Second, career changes of extra skills. So my point there about insight into customers' needs. If you have somebody who's been working in the automotive industry or in HR or in, everybody needs security. Some of your customers will have a kind of a different world, to you. And if your team comprises people who know that sector or who know something about it, then you're getting, for the same price as your other new entrants, you're getting some extra expertise that can help you home to your customers' needs. Different emotional and soft skills are honed by different roles. Now, my thinking here with this one is different roles need different skills. So, if you have somebody who's, say, been working a night shift in a care home, they will have probably at some point had to do that, make that decision. Do I call an ambulance now for this person? Do I alert my superior, or do I just 999 right now? If you're making that kind of life and death decision to look after somebody else, you're very well placed to make the decision and feel brave about it when you think, right, I'm here on my own in the office, or, with a skeleton staff at like 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. Do I now wake up this director and say, I can't get through to anybody else on the calling tree, but I think there's an incident. You need to get up out of bed and wake everybody up. Because that, it takes some nerve. So that's the next bit, brave as can be. If you are doing a career change that's so dramatic, it takes nerve. Because when you learn anything new, there's a lot of being wrong. And it's embarrassing and it's hard, especially if you've done something else and been good at it, to then go back to the position of not being good at it and just, doing a lot of failing, which is kind of the learning process. That's hard. So the people that you get coming in are brave, committed, quite often taking a pay cut to go to your new sector. Not always, depends what you were doing before, but when I say the same price as other entrants, that's not, unfortunately, for people coming in, that's from the employer side. And people often don't really change fields to stand still. From my own point of view, having seen that I was able to change fields, you realise I've changed my life. This was huge. I wanted to do it and I've done it. So what am I doing now? So consequently, you get motivated people who are ready to do something else. Also, I know people looking for more diversity in their teams. If you think that IT is still really quite white and male, if you look in that pool, you're going to get more of the same. So look at something else, at different sectors. Okay, so this is also for recruiters. What can we do right now? This is all great saying these are the problems and we know what they are. How can we get people interested? So my first point is have a low-risk path that you can tell someone who expresses an interest. The path I followed to get here in terms of the study was quite low risk in terms of money that I put into it. The time that I spent on it, well, it was interesting. But it was one of these things where nobody was watching me. I could put as much or as little into it as I wanted and do it at my own pace. So this is kind of a low risk entry thing. So I'm going to show you. I'll put the qualifications up on the last slide that I took, so you can just, if that's something that interests you, you can take a photo or whatever. Here we've got open days. Now I did have a think, well, we should have open days so people can see what we do, and then it struck me that I work in a secure environment with keypad and two-factor authentication. You think, yeah, so I'm not sure quite how we work that, but maybe just go, oh, in there are some people, or if you check them out first, I don't know. But that's a thought. The other thing is promotional material that explains what the job actually is, how they fit together, and how you kind of work through it in a kind of pathway to a different career. And this is the big one for me. Make sure you're not putting people off by asking for too much in the job spec. So there's a well-quoted report, the Hewlett-Packard report that was in Forbes in 2014. It's been referred to a lot. Women are less likely to apply for a job if they don't meet all the criteria. So if you and I would add to that, anybody who's quite anxious, because men can be anxious too. So if you want to widen your pool of applicants, don't make it too overwhelming. If it's an entry-level role, if you're asking for something like, I don't know, Security Plus, you could say fine, or, CUISA Plus, these are things that I'm looking at, that I've either done or I'm working towards. Some of them will say, think about doing this after you've got 3 years experience. It's that catch-22, it was mentioned in the last talk, how do you get experience? Maybe what you need is not a set of qualifications, but attributes for somebody to do the role. So, what makes a good analyst? Because this is my experience, the defensive side. When I came to the talk, it was by BSides Leeds. The keynote was by Zoe Rose, and she was standing at the front telling how she'd implemented a whole kind of security learning process that had engaged people, and they'd improved their level of understanding. And it was in a large firm, I think it was a law firm. And she was talking about how you got people to engage with learning and how you get them to learn and take things in. And it struck me, as a former English teacher and from a secondary school, sitting at the back, I thought, my experience is actually relevant here. I know all this. I can do this. I've got something here that can be useful in this career. So this is Bloom's taxonomy. So we've got here, this is kind of like first lesson of pedagogy in your PGCE, different orders of thinking. So the idea is the top 3 are the higher order thinking skills. Now, if you're going to be an analyst in a SOC, for example, you need all of these. So you've got the knowledge level, comprehension where you understand it more deeply. I mean, these are broken down, you can see. Apply it to something, sift out what's good, put it all together and develop your own comment on that. So these are all our higher order thinking skills. These are things that we need for a good analyst. The other things, I asked my colleagues, some more senior colleagues, what actually makes a good analyst in your experience. So the response I got, it's not about your level of knowledge or experience, it's about your ability to gather information and cut through it to the juicy, important bits. And technical skills are great, but more valuable is a sensible head for knowing how to approach any problem from a position of zero knowledge, because we're all going to be looking at new threats. If you're sitting in the SOC, there's going to be a 0 day that you haven't seen before that's replicating and you don't know what to do with it. So you have to know how to approach it even more than what it is. Also, we're a new industry. If you can do the part of working out your own path, plotting all this, because this is not something, these are skills that I had to learn to get here. Plot your own path, you decide your own syllabus, what's the stuff that you have to learn, and you schedule that in, how you're going to fit that into your life, make it all happen. By the time you've done that, you can tell your would-be employers that you have all these skills, and it'll help you carry on with your career. So, what do you need to know to get a job? This is that's a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's me saying this is what I did, and hopefully this will be useful to you. So, as I say, this will be up on the final slide. I know you can't see these terribly well, so don't worry about that. I started off with this one, which is the Introduction to Cybersecurity. Did it through FutureLearn. I think to do it with a certification was about £40 or £50. It assumes no prior knowledge. If you end up not going into security, it looks good on your CV anyway, because it's something everybody needs to be aware of. It's through the Open University on FutureLearn, approved by GCHQ as a good introduction. Good starting place. Next bit, I'd say you need to know how the network side of things works so that you can fit it all together. So before you even buy anything, look at the OSI model, a bit of Wikipedia and whatever, and make it all fit together. And then I went to have a look at the CCNT, which is a big book, but about £40, and worthwhile to see how it starts from the basics and works up. Now this is absolutely my favourite. This is a Coursera course. It's a specialisation in Introduction to Cybersecurity specialisation, and it has 4 different courses in it. I'm quite keen on it. Introduction to Cybersecurity. So it has in it things like, the first one's an introductory module. It talks about cybersecurity generally. There's bits on cryptography. There's stuff on, there's a module called real-time cyber threat detection and mitigation, something about how you secure enterprises and infrastructure. It's really a very good course and very gently presented. If you're feeling nervous, the guy that's is on all the videos always starts off, "Hi there, folks. I'm Ed Amoroso," and it's really just like, thanks, Ed. It's a good, it's a feel good thing. So, and then I just topped it off with a bit of HTML because, again, just on an online course through Coursera, because I was trying to guess what sort of thing might you want. If I'm looking at web traffic, I'm going to need to know what normal looks like before I can detect anomalies. So that's the plan. So now you've done some studying, how do you get a job? So be part of communities. I got my job through Twitter. After having done some studying, I said, I'm looking for an entry-level job in a SOC. Could, if anybody knows of anything. And a guy, I think he was in, I can't remember now, is it Portsmouth or Plymouth, somewhere down, very far away from me, said, my company's got a SOC near you, send me a CV. And I did. And hopefully, in the start of October, he'll get some money now, because he forwarded on a CV to HR, and here we are. So tell people that you're looking and where, because a lot of people say, I'm looking for a job in a SOC, and you're like, oh, awesome. What's, where are you? And they're like, Texas. And you're like, okay. So say where. DC 151 is the Leeds DC. I would say anything you can go to, whether it's that kind of thing where they have talks, or whether it's CTFs or Hack the Box things. That's a really good thing to look, just because you're building a community. People might say to you, I'll mentor you, or, I know somebody that might be able to speak to you about this. Build your things there. If you're on Twitter, after, if you've seen something that you like, remember to tweet at the person, even if they're really impressive, and thank them. Even if it's kind of, I am head of everything, just go, loved your talk, thanks very much, bye, and then they might retweet it and say, you're very welcome, or something like that. And automatically, you can see that the people that like that, you can all follow each other, you're building a community. In the interview itself, I ran this past the SOC manager. That was standing here is scary. Doing this to my boss's boss, much scarier. So, but he lent me his clicker, so I feel honoured. And he gave me some good advice. So I said, don't try to blag technical knowledge. In my interview, I could talk about three-way handshakes and this is in the header for the SYN packet, and it's not, blah, blah, blah. But I couldn't tell you what port numbers were which. I don't think I could. I think I was asked, what do you find on port 443? And I was like, So that kind of shows you're not meant to be the full product. I still got the job. Be ready to talk about, but it can really annoy people if you try to go, yeah, I know that, I'm just not telling you today. So don't do that. Be ready to talk about recent security events. So that shows your commitment and your enthusiasm. The SOC manager actually said to me was, if somebody comes in and they're really enthusiastic, for an entry-level role, I'm going to be hard-pressed not to just give them the job. Because anything that they don't already know, they'll learn because they care. So show your enthusiasm, you're in a really good position. Be ready to talk about recent stuff and have researched the company. So if you can look at the website, but maybe also if you look at the website, but also like things like a company report or anything you can find about people, look at the people who are interviewing you on LinkedIn before you go. Have researched a bit, know the job that you're applying for, speak to HR when you have that conversation before you get the interview. Ask, what exactly do I do? Is this, be ready to go in there and ask questions. Oh, and also be friendly, because quite often they're recruiting their colleagues. So if you can remember through your nerves, just like, hello, that's a positive thing. So how do we live happily ever after now? So new starters, keep being who you were in the interview, because it's easy to go quiet. The difference between saying, I'm here and I'm really excited and I want to learn, and being in a room full of like 30 people who know a lot more than you, and they're not necessarily being funny about it, they're just getting on with their jobs, which look really cool over their shoulders, and it's kind of intimidating. Keep asking questions and don't just kind of tell it on yourself. Employers, when you've got your new starters, if they're career changers particularly, they might need a bit of reassurance. I got a welcome letter from the stock manager saying, great to see you, exciting times here, see you in a week. And I was like, oh, wow, it made a big difference to me starting if you can welcome people like that. And schedule times to check in on them. So you say, instead of I'll just catch up with you later in the week, say, okay, so I booked it as an appointment in for 12 o'clock on Friday, and we can just have a run through where you're up to. That makes you feel a lot more calm, I think, as a new starter, that you know when you've got something that you can actually, if something comes up, there's some time you can address it. Keep an eye on the time. Invest in your colleagues if you can. So new starters, try and make connections within the firm. If there's something that, you need to ask somebody from a different team and you've seen them, you had a little chat in the kitchen, go, oh, hi, it's Rachael from the kitchen, or whatever. That's a positive thing. Employers, for your career changes, if you have a uniform, even if it's just polo shirts or something, have it ready to go when they start. When I started in the SOC, I did feel a bit kind of Laura Ashley compared to my colleagues in hoodies and jeans. And so if you can start, they might not know what the standard is there, so give them a head start. Keep up the study. When you've learnt all these skills to study by yourself, big push, and if you can keep going, it increases your pay and your value in the market. And employers, in that case, expect that they won't necessarily stay in that entry-level role for long, because if they've come this far, they'll keep pushing. New starters, big one. Monitor yourself and be honest about your needs, because if you're not their normal intake, you might need some support in places they're not expecting. They might not just be denying you on purpose. They might just be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, we'll help you with that. And if you can do that instead of just running away and never coming back one day, tell them, give them a chance. And again, there for employers, expect the unexpected. So again, same thing. They might be finding things hard that you didn't know, because the more diversity in your workforce, things will definitely change the feel of where you work and how it goes. So here is that final slide. Study resources, if that's any use to you. I would say the Coursera ones, the great thing about it, the one with all the hearts and stars, is you can audit the lot for free. If you can't take the exams, the qualifications, if you are not subscribed. The subscription is about £40 a month, but you could learn everything, be ready to go, and then just pay for 1 month's subscription and hammer through the courses, because you can watch the full lot. So there we go. I'll leave that up on the screen. If anybody's got any questions, if time permits. Okay, yes?
Hi, Rachel. Thanks for the presentation. How do you punch through imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome. I'll tell you when I manage it. An exciting wig. These are my kind of suggestions. How do you punch through it? I think for me, when I first got to the SOC, I was struggling with that a lot, and people were telling me things, and I was like, I understood what they were saying while they were saying it, and then it's gone. And I was just thinking, oh no. So what I did then, as soon as I got there, was I studied for my Security Plus, and it took me 3 weeks, and then I passed it. And when I passed it, I was like, okay, maybe I deserve to be here. So I would say, certifications, even, it doesn't have to be the fanciest one in the world, make you feel like you're less of an imposter. That worked for me. Yeah.
How do you retain all the knowledge? Because when I read stuff, after a couple of days,
yeah. I think it's, this is, ties in with something. When I was looking at CCNs, somebody said to me, you get more fails on the CCNs than you do if people do both courses and do this full CCNA, because doing something harder also revises something easier. So what I'd suggest is there's a repetition that was mentioned in the last course, in the last talk. You've got to kind of keep repeating it at regular intervals. Don't feel ashamed about going back over old ground. Give yourself, be pleased with yourself. Go, yeah, look at me. I'm revising things. I'm doing it thoroughly. Good me, And if you do that and you carry on with something harder, even though you can't 100% remember, that will help you revise the easier stuff too. That's my experience.
So do you have a period of time where you would say study for of days at a break. Same thing again.
It's got to fit in with your life. So, yeah, I mean, when I was in studying in the SOC, I was there all the time feeling really self-conscious because all my colleagues were there, and I knew that everybody could see me even if they weren't looking particularly, so I was like, well, I've just got to crack on with this study, and I got really into just like slamming it all day, every day. And the other thing is, if you're doing lots of studying, eat lots of protein. Think about it like weightlifting. This is my advice. You know, just eat loads of protein, loads of chicken. Yeah. yeah. Eat loads of chicken in the afternoon, load of protein, and keeping it. Yeah, that's my best advice.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
So when you started studying, and then switch, how did you decide when you were ready for that first entry level position?
Which the entry level session? Which one?
So that's the first job you got in security.
Yes. How did I decide?
Yeah.
Well, I'd finished my security specialisation, and I thought, meh. And also, to be honest, my husband's in IT, not security, and he's always been he's always over there, and he's always been saying, "Oh, you're really good. It'll be fine. Don't worry." And he knows he does a lot of recruitment, so he's like, yeah, go for it. So I had that extra help to get me into the industry, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to see the path in the same way. But he's like, yeah, you've got a good head on your shoulders, go and apply for something. I'm like, okay. So yeah, that's why. But I've just finished the courses. If you do that, start applying. Anything else? Cool. Oh yeah, sorry.
I'm just curious, now that you've done the courses, do you feel that they apply well to what you're actually doing in the real world?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I think I did that, and that kind of helped me understand what a SOC was, aside from anything else. Because I think the last one, the real-time cyber attack detection and mitigation, that covers something to do with actual SOCs. And the guy was talking about how was telling about how they set them up in the first place. So that thing, but that applied. But after that, I think the security plus, and when you're doing it every day, that helps. Yeah, definitely.
And then just your next steps for how you've got a foot in.
Yeah.
How do you feel your next steps are still excited in that world?
No, I'm good. I'm excited. So I've got to, from my targets at work, I've got to do the CYSA Plus by the end of the year. Should be going on to CREST stuff next year. I'm hoping to become a senior analyst, basically. So I came in level 1 analyst, passed my security plus, became a level 2 analyst, and the next thing is that I'm aiming for as a senior. But I'm conscious that there's going to be somebody else on in a minute, so I probably ought to go there. So thank you very much.